This is Fatma,
I'm Dara.
and welcome to the seventh,
I think.
seventh episode of our podcast series. Do not say you're surprised. We've done this.
I say it every time. I'm so shocked. To be honest, it's like, okay, I don't know how far along, like, 'cause we've posted only, 2 episodes up till now? And I've gone mad with the art, okay? And I love it. And the more I do it, the more the inner art me is, like, fighting to, like, showcase more colors.
Yeah.
And it's like there's an explosion, and I love it.
That's great. Great. So long as your perfectionism, like,
Oh god, that's
takes
a
a
whole
back
other...
seat.
It doesn't. It doesn't. I started learning a new skill, and my perfectionism is like, you can't do this, you don't know how. And then I just sit there looking at it for hours until someone else comes and says it's fine.
It's like you hate it until someone else validates
I
it.
don't hate it, but it's not what I want to do, and I don't know how to do what I want to do because it's not my forte or skill set, you know?
So it's frustration.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know what I'm doing.
But you do know what you're doing because
Yeah.
you did it.
But the thing is, it limits you, right? Because if I'm like, oh, I want to create like a mesh of lines, I would attempt at it and then fail. Why are we talking about this?
No, why not? Why you?
It's like when you keep doing the same thing again and again, right? You get good at it or you get familiar with it, right?
Yeah.
So let's say I've been drawing for years and years and years. It's
Since
just
you were a baby.
literally. But even with that, with the skills I've learned, I've been like doing those skills for years and years and years, and like over time, it's something that my body can do without me having to think about it. I don't have to think about how to draw an apple. I just do it. You
But
know?
with the new skill set, it's like the image in your head doesn't match to the image your hands create,
Exactly.
and that causes frustration.
Yeah. So there's this like conflict between what I'm thinking I can do with my hands and a pencil versus what I can do on a laptop, because I don't have the skill set developed and I lack a lot of patience, and my perfectionism comes in there because it's like, you know, it's a new thing, but I will also be like, no, I have to do it well the first time.
Yeah, but then I get that, but
Yeah.
it again links up with letting go, and also it's
Yeah.
a lot about familiarity.
Yeah.
Once your brain, your mind, your body is familiar with something, it becomes normal.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's like the more you keep doing the same thing, in fact, if you take it to the context of feelings also, right? I was watching this video which was explaining how when you think a thought and you think that thought automatically, it's already paired with an emotion. It's an automatic response.
It's an automatic response. It's an automatic association.
Yeah.
Because it's been done so many times.
Yeah, and that's where your subconscious body kind of takes over.
I think it's the same way. So whenever I'm in London, I always say this is that I never feel well. Like I'm never
Yeah.
like well rested. I always feel like I'm sick or like something is not right,
Yeah.
and it genuinely isn't.
Yeah.
Right? But whenever I'm back home in Karachi, right, like not this time because I've been pretty sick, but like all the times before, I've felt like even now I'd say I feel well rested. Like even though I'm not sleeping a lot,
Yeah.
I'm still, I feel secure. I feel safe. I feel
Exactly.
rested.
Safe. So
Safe.
your home is your familiar, safe place, right? So for me, like, what do you associate home with? Because is home where you live? Is home the people? Is home the feeling? What is home?
You know what? So I think over time,
Yeah.
right, I've developed a home within me.
Yeah.
So home is not an externality. Home is internal.
Yeah.
Entirely internal.
Yeah.
Right? And this has been a process. So I remember while I was in London, and just, you know, because you feel homesick, I feel homesick a lot.
Yeah.
Right? And so the whole process went from I have a home there, it exists, I exist there within that space. But at times I feel detached and think that this isn't really home, and home is somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that those two connections, right? But even being in Karachi, I still think of London, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
my life there. And so it's this really weird entanglement between two halves of myself, two lives that are split like that.
Yeah.
And
I think I'm gonna cut you off. I'm gonna quote you. Two halves of an unfamiliar, which is all too familiar. You know?
yes.
I'm quoting you in mid podcast. But I think I associate home with familiarity a lot.
Yeah.
So for me, it has taken a whole process from being only, like, you know, I remember I didn't know what homesickness meant until I was in it and I was like, how do I define this feeling? And there's always this split. Like when I'm here, I'm thinking about Malaysia and I'm thinking about the rain, and when I'm there, I'm thinking about here.
So it's like the first conversation we had when you came back from Malaysia. I said we will always feel like we're in transit.
Yeah.
Right. Even now, even though it's literally like COVID and you can't go back too much, it feels like you're stuck. It doesn't necessarily feel like home in its traditional sense, because you're still in some sort of transit phase.
You know what? So during this process, right, I think I've reached a point where I can, like, because we were talking about being there in the moment, right? And it was a very long process, but I remember I remember the exact night when I was looking out my window and the moon was full, and it was like a weirdly still night. And it was one of those nights where I would normally imagine, like, okay, I have the sea right in front of me, but I miss the rain.
Yeah.
I didn't miss the rain that day. I was like, oh, I'm here. I'm in Karachi, and that's all I am, and that's all, like, where I need to be. I wasn't in, like, the transit. I was like, I'm here, and I don't miss that.
And it's a process.
It's a whole circle.
It's a process that I've come to realize only settles when you create home within yourself, right? Like, so the familiarity of feelings, of people, of places, all have a root. And the root is that it makes you feel settled.
Yeah.
So if you can create that own settled feeling within yourself, you will be fine wherever you are.
That makes me emotional, because there's so much love. Like, my eyes are tearing, because, like, there's so much love in that idea, and it's linked with abundance, right? So when my thought process goes from, like, okay, home to familiarity, and then what is actually familiar is what I associate with and what I think about all the time, because, like I said, if you repeat something, it's an automatic response.
Okay, so I wrote a piece about this exact, like, the same feeling of am I here, am I not here, in the moment kind of thing when I was in London. I'll read it out to you, okay? Because it was this piece I wrote was right before I was coming back. So I was excited, but I was also feeling this really weird mix of why am I not settled in this place that I will probably be spending a few years of my life in, right? Okay. You know that feeling, that heartbeat stopping, sinking and flying, that coming and going feeling. The feeling when you check your bank account and laugh because, oh fuck, how did I spend that much? The feeling when you check your calendar and think that went by fast. You know the feeling when you're folding laundry and thinking about what to make for dinner, and that assignment due next week. And right between the folding of your shirt and deciding to order out, you feel detached. You look around and for a split second don't recognize where you are and who you are. Just for a second, your body isn't yours, and the home you're in isn't home. And then the feeling passes and you move on. But that heartstring tug, that jaw drop moment, that symphony only your bones hear, remains like the ash in the tray you forgot to throw out. And I know this seems so small, and this seems so shallow. And I know you're searching for a great beyond, a more than this, not enough for this, too little for your body and soul to be okay with. But just trust me when I say this. The great beyond is folded within a tomorrow that's almost here. A tomorrow which smells like crisp air, a not so strange road, and you both aware and unaware of the strings weaving around you, mending and creating a tapestry that is drenched with days that have yet to happen. Yeah.
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of longing from familiar, but searching in the past. You know? So it's like, okay. And it also reminds me of the feeling of groundedness, but not. So it's like very spacey. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't associate spaciness with home, because for me, home would be grounded. It would be safe. It would be nurturing. And for me, at least at this very moment, home is the color yellow, you know?
Yeah.
Because all of those things are enriching and all of that.
It's very warm.
Exactly. But then with this, I think of longing. I think of that night where I'm just like, I'm searching for something, but also nothing, because I have everything I want, but I don't.
It's the same feeling when you really think, what is home, right? Is home consistent longing for something that is always in the past? Or is home something that you can create with your own hands, with your own self? Is home the body that you occupy? Is home the space that you occupy with people you're familiar with?
Yeah.
What is home?
Yeah.
What is home to you?
Was home to me? I said it. It's a color. It's been a process because I remember when I went to university, I wrote something very similar to that.
Yeah.
But it was from a place of change because I think of it like this. That okay, should I just read it?
Yeah, yeah.
It's I wrote it a while back, but I want to read it now. Okay. So it was inspired by your poetry itself. The line that said, "It's home stuck between two halves of an unfamiliar, which is all too familiar." And I said that the memories are etched with an abundance of moments that are recognizable only in a glimpse. I knew when because I photographed things, right? So I knew when I photographed these people, I would never see them again. I know that every time I go abroad and come back, home seems a little different, like a different familiar. I know the streets don't belong to me, but I to them. And I know that there is comfort in knowing the routes to your most visited destination. The sense of belonging to different locations, your best friend's house, your aunt's apartment, your coffee house, all being a few signals away, coin a single bubble. The roots become home, and I know that change means having to meddle with this bubble and recreating a new familiar once again. And I feel like since then, and I think this was like what 2019, before 2019, this was 2018, end of 2018 to now, like this whole concept of like meddling with change, because change is something that's out of control, right?
Yeah.
And it's non-constant, and home is safe and it's supposed to be constant.
Okay, I'm gonna cut you off there.
Yeah.
Okay, because remember
You have a response?
yes, okay, because and it's not entire piece. It's just a line or a few lines from a piece
Yeah.
I wrote, right? It's about how you said you belong to the streets don't belong to you.
Yeah.
Right? You belong to your best friend's house, that home does not belong to you.
No.
Right? It is just like how your soul splits.
Yeah.
So remember
Oh, God.
remember the piece I wrote a piece for you, and I'll just read like two lines out of it because it is
Is it the love letter?
a love letter, yeah? Okay.
Oh God.
I sit there thinking about the continuous existence of soul that splits in halves of halves, until halves settle with each new embrace. So each time we are someplace new, each time we come back to someplace familiar, each time we create a new familiar, a part of you is always there,
Yeah.
right? Because a part of you possesses that feeling, does not possess the place, does not possess
Yeah.
the person. But the feeling that they create or the feeling that place creates is always there.
Yeah.
So you are attached.
The memory of it, the smell of it, the experience of it is yours.
Yeah. And you know what? It just adds to abundance.
Yeah.
It's the same concept where just because you don't have those same places anymore
Yeah.
doesn't mean your abundance is any less.
Yeah. I want you to
You-
give the same analogy. I dare you. Go for it.
Was it the flower one?
Yes.
Alright, so again, me and Zara, because we were talking about this before we started recording this, I said that abundance is like adding flowers to your garden, right? Flowers in your garden expand the garden. But just because those flowers die doesn't mean your garden is any limited. Right? The memory of those flowers, the smell of those flowers, the beauty those flowers generated will always remain. Even if the physical manifestation of the flower is no longer.
Yeah.
And I think that has been a process of understanding what home is.
Yeah.
Just because familiarity doesn't exist in the same spaces
Yeah.
doesn't mean the memory doesn't exist.
Or it's like the same thing, right? It's like you have to create new ones, because I don't think home is one constant place or person or even feeling. I think it is a package of. It's like you know how you see those movie time lapses go by and it's like a split second, but the smell and the feeling for me at least is like a drop of rain, and it's like all of that in like 2 seconds, but it's all the time in me, and my heart is like full and it's abundant with the color yellow for me.
Yes.
Right? And like when I think about it, I can feel myself radiate that energy, because like, you know.
So every time I've thought about home,
Yeah.
okay, and I know this also goes for you, right? So every time I've thought about home, I think it's been a process again. But I think now, if I were to imagine home is a huge field of brightly lit sunflowers. Because it is yellow, it is abundant, it
Yeah.
is warm, and it feels the exact same way home feels like.
Yeah. I feel like I like the idea of groundedness, right? And I also like the idea of abundance in all of this, because I don't think now, and it's about wholeness, right? If I am whole, or if I think of myself as a whole individual, that I don't necessarily need someone else to complete me or fulfill my needs. I want them to, yes, and I have needs and all of those, complex
But
ideas.
it's a want.
Yeah, it's the idea that I am whole as an individual. My sense of self and my self-esteem does not depend on anyone else, right? And that's the only reason why I can take these different elements from different places which aren't even mine, but I create them as mine and I associate them as my home, right? Because
Yeah.
I live with it.
It's like you've woven
Yeah.
all that home is for you,
Yeah.
or should be for you, or you want it to be. You've woven that within your own self.
Yeah, and it again, I want to bring in longing also, because while all of this exists and I'm a whole individual and I'm grounded in my home of yellow, right? I still long,
Okay, so it's
and longing for me isn't home,
no,
but it's part of it.
no, but see, but that's again a thing.
You know what?
I understand,
Yeah.
but I don't agree with that. I think longing is also a part of home, and it always has been.
It's part of it, but not entirely.
No, not entirely, sure,
Yeah.
but it's always been there.
Yeah.
Before leaving for university, even before you had an idea you would be leaving for university,
Hmm.
right? The whole process of application, applying, going, all of that, all your life, from one school to another, to then university, to wherever you are in life, you've still been home, but you've still longed for more.
Yeah.
So you can always be grounded and still long for more. Longing
That's what
is
I'm
human
saying.
nature.
Yeah.
It is indefinitely part of who we are,
Yeah.
right? And it's also just hope.
I'm not talking about it like that. I'm saying longing for something does not mean that I'm incomplete.
No, it doesn't.
Because it is that I have everything that I can even wish for more.
I'll tell you what. Okay, it is exactly that concept. It is the concept again of duality. It is that things can exist
Yes.
simultaneously and actually together.
Yeah.
You can be grounded and complete and still long for more than what you have, and that doesn't take away from anything you have. Just like wishing that you could go to university abroad doesn't mean you're not settled at home, right? It doesn't mean you're running away. You are very much present in the moment, with the moment, but you can still long for more.
Exactly. I'm blank. it's because like I have been in, like, I'm gonna take it deeper, right? Now let's explore this longing, right? Because I think if longing is part of home, right, it doesn't make you feel, at least it doesn't make me feel less than or incomplete, or that I don't have it. Like, for example, I long for connection and really deep conversations, right? But I also know if I go out seeking them, I can create that myself. I also don't want to do that because I want it to come to me. So I'm longing for something. Sometimes it's longing for something that I can't pinpoint, and it's like, it has nothing to do with situations. It has to do with
Nothing
a feeling.
nothing is ever situational.
Yeah.
Things are always beyond.
Yeah.
Okay, but I understand that. So it's again, it's the same concept. It's about abundance. Just because
Yeah.
you long for something doesn't mean you don't have it.
Exactly.
It just means you might want more of it.
Yeah.
And the fact that you don't go out seeking it or creating it is because at a certain point you don't have a need to,
Yeah.
because you have it.
Yeah.
And जब ज़रूरत पड़ेगी तो कर लेंगे. We don't want to right now, so we
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
You can't do something you're not ready for,
Exactly.
and you can't create something you're not
No.
willing to.
Yeah.
So abundance is also accepting. It is also accepting that there are certain limitations.
Yeah.
If something isn't a priority, then it's for a reason it's not.
Exactly. And I feel like that motivational instinct is like, it's innate. When you know what, there's also this thing, you know something and you want to make a change. It's the difference between you knowing it and then actually making the change that is revolutionary.
So there's a process that goes on with this, right? Okay, so your starting point with this whole longing thing, right?
Yeah.
It stems from first it stems from the very base level, and this is probably the worst place to be in, if that I feel, right? Is not even being aware of what you don't know,
Yeah.
right? Because
Oof.
to know what you want, you have to know first what you don't know.
Tongue twister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So
Exactly.
the base is entire unaware state. You don't know what you don't know.
Sometimes you don't even know what this feeling of longing is. You can't even point the name.
I wrote a piece when I was around 16. No, I was 18 at this point.
Is it the beach one?
It is the half broken
Yeah,
glass, the
yeah.
half broken jar one. Yeah, we'll add that in some other later episode we're ready for.
That's a heavy one.
Yeah. But in that piece, I was 18 when I wrote this, and it was about the feeling I had when I was 16, right? And I remember distinctly writing, I don't know what this feeling is. I might call it something, but in truth, I'll call it nothing. Because nothing is also something and it has weight, but the only reason you call it nothing is because you can't identify what it is. It is
Or you want to push it and not accept it.
yes, but it's a state of being
Yeah.
unaware.
Yeah.
Even pushing away means I don't have the strength to identify it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a really heavy one. Yeah. I think even the book I have literally says I've written your home is two halves of an unfamiliar. It's stuck. I don't think it's like,
It's also the book that you gave me, right? It's Homecoming. Homecoming to your own self.
yeah.
Come back home or find home within yourself.
Yes. I mean, I wasn't going to mention it but now we don't have time.
We'll do it later. We'll do it in because that book is something entirely. It's a different
I'm gonna
tangent
grab
of
this part, yeah.
it's a different tangent of Homecoming.
Yeah.
But
But I think the idea of creating a home within self is also very important because, again, once you know who you are, right? Even if you don't know the words for it, but you recognize yourself and you can stay within you in your body. I think experiencing things becomes a lot more aware and conscious. Like you feel all your senses. You know what I mean?
I think if you know who you are, you can recreate it wherever you are.
Oof.
Which is why I say finding or creating home is more about coming back home.
Yeah.
Coming back to yourself. It's always internal.
Yeah.
Always inwards. You can't find it external, not outwards.
It's the same thing, right? Everything that you know or everything that you need to know, you already have. You are all your resources. My course teacher keeps saying this. You are the stories that you tell yourself, and you already know everything you need to know to be anything you want to be. And that there's so much power in that. That's it.
True.
There's so much power in just believing that you can do anything and you have all the resources.
I think that also translates into other things, as in
I'm talking about everything.
It's not just about creating; it's also about feelings.
Yeah.
So you are in total control of your feelings. No one else can really be a big factor. They can influence it, sure, but they can't be a factor in it.
Yeah.
Okay, so to sum up our episode for today, we talk a lot about home. We talk a lot about finding home.
Yeah.
What is the reflective work you want to give for them?
One of my assignments was about creating a feeling, okay? And in that, they wanted us to create a portfolio of things that remind you of a certain feeling. So let's say this feeling is home, right? Whatever feeling you associate with home. Is it comfort? Is it joy? Is it love? Is
You want them to draw it.
No. I'm explaining. Is it connectedness? Whatever that feeling that you associate with home, I want you guys to make a portfolio of that. So that could be a digital one on your phone, like an album of photographs, an album of musics, right? Or it could be a combination of things. Like let's say if you think the color yellow feels like home, right? You put that around you, right? Or if let's say a song reminds you of home, you listen to that. If it's a perfume, you put that on. So the idea is that every day for 5 minutes, just look and revisit these items that feel like home. So whatever that is, so if you can do that with any feeling also, so let that be, let's say, love or joy or abundance, right?
Just recreate it.
Just pick out things that feel like that, and then reflect and look at it and try to feel the feelings that come up. That's it. 5 minutes a day for a week.
Okay.
For a week. It's a little tough. I did it for 3 days and I was like, I can't do this. But after that, I kind of pushed myself and I saw a very, very big change. So it's called it's a portfolio of feelings, you know.
Okay, I think we can leave that.
Yeah.
We can leave it at that.
Yeah.
And
I think that's a really good one.
Yeah. Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.